Hi, this is Mark News from Plant Talk Radio. Thanks for subscribing and listening to our podcast, Your Gardening Questions from Plant Talk Radio. To help keep this podcast free for you, we're partnering with Stoke Seeds. More than just a listing of vegetable and flower seeds, the Stoke Seeds website is a complete resource center with valuable information on seed starting, planting, and harvesting, plus all the garden accessories you need to make your garden the envy of the neighborhood. Now, pre-order your free 2017 gardening guide today from stokeseeds.com, cultivating successful growers for generations. We'll have more to come from Stoke Seeds in the next few weeks. For now, on to today's question. And Gary, maybe you can go through the process a little bit. If you keep your poinsettias over, how do you get them to turn red again?
Yeah, and through the spring and summer, you can grow them inside or often outside and a little bit sun-sheltered and grow them into a nice full plant, do the regular fertilizing. You can actually pinch them back to keep them nice and compact. In its natural state in Mexico and other areas, they grow huge, like 10 feet tall. And I've seen them in Florida, South Florida. They get into a very rangy, leggy kind of shrub. They're still kind of cool, I think, but you want to pinch them to keep them compact. And then what you do is in the fall, you need 10 to 12 weeks or so of that dark 12 hours per night. And I did get a question or a call once that you do have to bring the plant back out of that darkness each day. Don't leave them in the cupboard or under a box. A box is a really easy way to do it. Put a cardboard box over the plant. You do that each night, but you do have to remove it each day. And so I hope that's not misleading. You can't just leave the plant covered up for those, those weeks and weeks, and that's not going to work very well. So after that, and you do have to keep it completely dark. I've heard a story, I believe it's true here locally in Columbus, where a new freeway was put in, and the street lights near the freeway interrupted one of the growers here in town where that light would get into their greenhouse. And so they do have to be careful of that. And then you bring it back out, and within a few weeks after the 10 weeks or so in the dark nights, then they just naturally color up. And the breeders now commercially don't need to do as much of that darkness. They've bred varieties that take less of those dark nights or don't even need so much of that control. But I think it's a fun project to try it. It's actually a nice plant, even in the summer. I think it's an interesting plant. And then, go through that process in the fall, and then you should enjoy it. Now, you can't time it exactly for the holidays, and I think that's what happens sometimes. It may be a little later or it might be a little sooner. Mm-hmm.
And once they do turn their color, I was going to say red, but there's so many colors now. Once they do turn, how long can you expect that color to last?
Oh, certainly... I'd say up months. It usually gets where you need to prune the plant back in the spring more so than losing that color. That color will last easily January, February, maybe March or so. It'll gradually fade, but that color will last a long time. And the key thing, it's not the flower. It's always very interesting. It's a modified leaf called a bract. The flower, if you look closely at a poinsettia, there's actually a little yellow flower in the center of each of those arrangements of leaves. And that's, when you're buying a poinsettia, I always say look for that little flower and hope that that's not fully open and fully finished, because that would be a sign of the aging of the plant. So look for that little yellow flower just starting to open, and then you might get a little bit longer time out of your poinsettia.
And it's interesting because usually, at least when I buy them, I just go to the grocery store. There they are. It'll be a sort of an impulse buy. I'll just see how beautiful they are and grab a couple for around the fireplace at Christmas. But can you go to a garden center and ask for specific varieties?
Yeah, sure. The garden centers would, have knowledgeable people where you can go and look at the different ones. And there's so many varieties now, but a few years ago, the winter rose type came out where it's a double, even a triple flower where it looks kind of like a rose. Sort of old favorites now, sort of pink peppermint where it's splashed with pink, and there's marble, and most people, like the red, but there's certainly some nice, even some white now. There's never been a pure white, but they're getting closer and closer to something that looks kind of like snow for a poinsettia.
Yeah, they are absolutely beautiful. Hey, thanks again for listening to today's podcast. If you have any questions for Fred, go ahead and email us at fred@planttalkradio.com. And for the best selection of vegetable, flower, and herb seeds available, go to www.stokeseeds.com. Pre-order your free 2017 gardening guide today from stokeseeds.com, cultivating successful growers for generations.